Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Conversations with Coaches podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have Sara Gilbert with me. Now, Sara was on the pod before, back when I believe it was called Coffee with Coaches, or some derivation thereof, and she was interviewed by my good friend and partner, Michael Pacheco, who's moved on to longer podcasts. I think he just likes to talk more, likes to listen more. But this is me meeting Sara for the first time, but her getting to come back, and we're just going to chat about her coaching journey, both overall, last year or two, and just kind of see where the conversation takes us. So let me tell you a little bit about Sara before I let her chime in. Sara is an award-winning business strategist and mindset coach. She helps service-based entrepreneurs grow their business their way. Simple, straightforward, powerful, and I'm excited to talk about it. So Sara, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
So for my personal, totally greedy benefit, tell me how you got your start in coaching. Like, how did you maybe realize that you were a coach? Did someone give you that word before you knew what it was? Was it something you just realized about yourself and then decided to move into the coaching business? How did you get your start?
That's such a good question. I never thought about it. Well, so when I first started in business, that's like a little bit over 10 years ago, I started as a business consultant. So I was really there in the business and really acting more as a consultant than a coach. And I remember as if it was yesterday, I was with a client and their team, and we're talking about like their visibility and their communication strategy, their marketing strategy and everything. And I was like, all right, so this is the marketing plan. This that we're going to, bring even more visibility to the business and whatnot. And the owner of the business was like, oh my gosh, Sara, this is perfect. This is amazing. Which, all the comments that you want to hear as a consultant. But what I knew was that it was the third time that we're having the exact same conversation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, you know what? Beyond the strategy, there's something that I don't get. There's something that I'm not doing right to really, truly help my clients. And this is where I decided to go and do my NLP certification. So I'm a double NLP certified coach. So I'm certified as a personal coach and as a business coach as well in NLP. And this is where I really understood the mindset component, because really it's about strategy and mindset. They go hand in hand together. So that's really how I became a coach. And even as a consultant, people would still call me their coach, even if I wasn't naming myself as a coach. But really like becoming and embodying the coaching posture, if I can say, was really when I got that click from that client of saying, okay, you know what, it's not just about strategy. And that's really where I pivoted with my own business and help people even at a deeper level, because if you can have the best strategy in the world, but if your mindset is not there, the strategy is worthless.
Yeah.
So
it's a dusty book on a shelf.
Exactly. So now I'm really acting as a business strategist and a mindset coach. And if you're not willing to talk about mindset, belief, patterns, fear, we're not made to be together, because I want to go deep in there so we can have a transformation out there being in the business, right? Yeah. And so now I always have clients who say, so the other day I had this going on, and then your voice was in my head, and what would Sara say? Or Sara would tell me this. And I'm like, this is how I want to impact people, that they don't need me, because now they can coach themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's my goal, right?
You're almost like a ghost. You're like almost haunting them, but in the positive ways. Like you're just like, it's like, I love that's maybe sounds a little bit creepy, but I love that, because that's really the difference. It's not just the strategy, like there's something that you can get. Like I'm thinking in my head, because I'm definitely this kind of person. I love buying books. I love acquiring books. I love reading books. Those two don't always meet. And so I go through periods where I'll have like this book that I'm really excited to read, information I'm really excited to consume, and know that it has the capacity to change my life, but it'll sit on my shelf. Mm-hmm. Or I'll consult it from time to time and sort of like, oh, that's interesting. That's really cool. And then it just stops right there. And that's like, and I love that you identified for yourself where you're like, that's not good enough for me. I both know that I can help more, and I want to find out how I can do that. And then I want to commit to doing that, which is, of course, you exemplify the virtues that you coach, which of course makes perfect sense. Oh yeah, I
Definitely,
love that teaming in the strategy, the mindset, and also like mindset leads naturally into action. Mindset really is about that translation act. I think we talked a little bit before I hit record about that translation aspect of coaching, where coaches are excellent about both understanding their own journey, how they came to be who they are, the steps they took to get there, but beyond that, also translating that in a way that other people can understand and apply to their own life, rather than just sort of reading a strategy and like, oh, look, that worked for this particular person at this particular time in this particular way. What a great story.
Mhm.
Coaching obviously starts with a story, but it's about so much more than that. It's about their story. It's about what they're going to do, what they're doing now, what they've done in the past, what they're going to do going forward with what you're bringing to them. It excites me so much. It's hard for me not to just go on and on about it.
Yeah, and it's all good, but you definitely put your finger on it, It's like at one point on my website, I had like the slogan, like ideas are nice, execution is better. But execution is not just a strategy. Execution is also what's stopping me from doing this, what's stopping me from shining. So just before this morning, I was talking with a client and we're talking about, how to bring more visibility to our business. And like, we're really getting ready to propel. She already has a beautiful business, and now like she has a lot, because we structured it in a simple way, because I believe in simplicity. Now she's like, Sarah, I have like free time, like I have time to enjoy life. I'm like, first of all, that's what life is supposed to be about, like at first. And I'm like, all right, so now how do we bring and leverage more visibility? And as we're talking about a plan, a strategy, and whatnot, and she's like, yes, but I want strategy, but not too much, because because I don't want the backslash of being visible. I'm like, okay, let's unpack this.
Unpack.
Because even if I leave you with a great strategy, that belief and that fear is going to make it that you're either not going to apply the strategy or completely sabotage it and sabotage yourself in the meantime. So these two go hand in hand all the time. And so that's why, I touch both. It's not one or the other. It's one and the other.
Yeah. And I love that, because you're there in that moment to identify it, to say, aha. You could basically be right there by their side when they have the aha moment. Even if they have the aha moment when you're, at the 3 a.m, when they're like, they wake up in the middle of the night or whatever, but that aha moment finds its way to you and you're like, aha, I see it. Let's unpack that, because this is where the real work can begin. This is where the next step starts, because this is something, and I love that ability of a coach to both be present for it, identify it, and then carry that into the mindset, into the action. It's such a complete, for lack of a better word, holistic approach to growing where you want to grow.
Yes, and like I was explaining to my client is, so one of the expertise that I've developed is psycholinguistics. So understanding the relationship between words and behaviors. So first and foremost, our words and our behaviors. And then after that, the people we hire, we help, and our clients and whatnot, understanding that relationship. And I explained to her, I'm like, oh, did you just pick up on that sentence that you just said? Because whatever comes out of our mouth are our beliefs. That's the only thing that comes out of our mouths, is our beliefs all the time. So if I don't catch it, what's coming out of my mouth, then my beliefs continue to operate and manage all my behavior. But once I become aware that everything that comes out of my mouth is a belief that I have, then I can actually do something about it. So as I brought it back to her, she's like, shoot, that did just come out of my mouth. I'm like, all right, let's unpack it. And it's to pay attention to that. Because like I said, the only thing that comes out of our mouth are our beliefs. That's it, that's all. So if somebody tells you that, oh, you have to be on TikTok, that's a belief that they have. Do I want that belief or not? Oh, you need to, I need to answer all my clients, all the phone calls that ring all the time. Oh, hold on, that belief. Do I want to have that belief? So everything that comes in there is our belief. And then from there, I can actually do something, choose to do something about it.
Yeah. Bring it out into the light, because then the real work can begin. When it's all packed away, when it's all like black boxed, inaccessible. That's another one of those ways too that you mentioned earlier about sabotage. That's one of the ways in which we sabotage or hinder ourselves from even beginning, is we imagine that certain things just are the way they are, or they just come from some place unknowable. And quite frankly, that's frequently not the case. And I love the way that you identify. It's actually vibes with something that's like, it's been a saying in my family for a long time. I think I first heard it from my grandmother when I was a young man. Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. is how she put it to me. That's been with me my whole life. And so for you to so clearly identify that same notion, that same foundational concept of understanding who we are and why we are who we are and how that expresses itself. I just want to say, I need to say that and share that with you, because that's been with me for as long as I can remember. And so it's so lovely to hear it come out of someone else's mouth who I just met.
And self-awareness is something that we lost along the way. And like often I'll have companies or whatever, and they'll want to, work on client experience on their business. And I'm like, all right, talk to me about the culture of your teams. And they're like, what are you talking about? We want to work on client experience. And I explain them what I call the equation of client experience. Client experience is the reflection of your team culture. Your team culture is a reflection of your leadership. Your leadership is a reflection of your awareness, self-awareness, and your self-leadership. So bringing that self-awareness of, who I am, what do I want? What is my desire for this life? And then we can see that, okay, every day I either feed the fear of something or I feed the dream of what I want. When we become aware, I get to choose which of the two babies am I feeding. And unconsciously, we tend to feed the fear a lot.
It cries a lot. It's louder.
It's louder. And again, it's just the brain doing its jobs, right? The job of the brain is to keep you alive, which means in its comfort zone, in what it knows, even if what it knows is not what we want.
Yeah.
The devil you know, the devil you don't. So it's there. So it's always bringing that mindset of, well, who am I feeding? Which one am I feeding right now? Because we're feeding one of the two all the time.
Yeah, definitely. You make a great point there too. I love, because you don't have to negatively define one or the other. It's not about like saying that fear is bad. The fear just is. The awareness is what allows you to choose. And that's the point. And I think that's a trap I know that I have fallen into in the past, is trying to use some sort of false dichotomy and assigning bad to one thing and good to another, just in order to get forward progress. And that, that's kind of, that can work in a way as a shortcut to a certain kind of awareness. But I love the fact that you don't need to vilify some aspect of yourself that might be being fed too much. It's just being fed too much. So bring it to the awareness, bring it up, bring it out, let it be seen by you, let it be seen by others, as uncomfortable as that might feel. And it probably will feel uncomfortable, so that the awareness work can begin. And like you charted the journey, it's the step-by-step journey. And it's actually really, really simple when you unpack it like that. It feels, when it's all packed in the box, it's like this tangle of cords that have been packed away, like Christmas lights, where they're all like, they've been stuffed in a box for so long. And you look at it and you're like, oh, it's going to take me all day to untangle that. I don't have time for that. But when you just do the work, unpack everything, see where things are knotted, see where things need to be worked. I have this in my head, the image of the box full of Christmas lights as my like issues I'm unaware of. It makes a scary amount of sense for me. So, but yeah, just that act of unpacking and that bringing awareness to it, bringing light to it. It really is the beginning of a long, fruitful, and quite simple and powerful journey.
Well, actually, I believe that the beginning is clarifying what you want.
You're right. That's it. You're right.
Because
I skipped a step.
98%, actually, even I think I'm generous, 98% of people don't know what they want. So it's really interesting, because when you ask somebody what they want, they'll tell you what they don't want and what they've tried in the past.
Ooh, good. Yeah. Good observation.
So as people are telling me, we talk and say, well, what do you want? And they're like, oh, I don't want this, don't want that. And I've done this. And I'm like, all right, are we good now? Can we start with what we want? So coming back to your Christmas light analogy, I love it, because I want to build a Christmas tree. So if it gets annoying and it's hard because they're all tangled, and then it's like, but if I don't know, it's because I want to build a Christmas tree, because I want with my family to enjoy a beautiful Christmas tree. If I don't have that direction, as soon as it's going to get hard, I'll just drop and say whatever, because I don't have the context. I don't have the vision of what am I building. Because when I have that, I know that's what's going to drive me. And then it's like, oh, well, this is just a knot. Let's just undo the knot so we can have the beautiful Christmas tree.
Yeah. You divorce the chore from the actual purpose, from the service. Like, and then, having having in my head that image of the Christmas tree up and lit and decorated and the family is looking at it, that'll motivate me through the largest box of tangled Christmas lights, because I could see where I want to go. I could see where I want my family to go. I want us to have that vision. I want us to bring that vision to life. And so then the work is just, well, it's just the work. And I'm glad to do it in service of that vision.
And if you can feel it even more than see it, is even more powerful.
Absolutely.
So when I coach entrepreneurs or in any of my programs that I do, group programs, but when I coach entrepreneurs, is what is your infamous why, but what is your purpose? How do you define a great life? And do you embody it? Because many people say a lot of things. Oh, I want to help my clients realize their dream life, their ideal life. And I'm like, all right, are you living your ideal life? And it's like, no, not yet. And I'm like, let's start with that. The embodiment part is such an important one in trying to help, because you can't give something you don't have. So the embodiment part. So whatever the vision, and people sometimes get confused when I talk about like the mission of the business has nothing to do with the business. It's such at a deeper level than that. So I'll coach, for example, I have a client who's in wealth management. And exactly, it was like, the mission is not bring financial peace of mind to my clients. I'm like, who cares? You could have done something else in it, but like untangle the mission and the vehicle. That's your purpose. And then from there, build a business around that, not the other way around.
I got to tell you, everything you say makes me want to stop and think about it for longer than we have time for on a podcast. It doesn't make great podcast when I'm simply like sitting in silence, pondering what you said. You were expressing this so beautifully, and I like jealously, I want to keep you here all day having this conversation, because I love this, but it's already been almost half an hour. So talk a little bit. I want to give you a chance to tell the audience. Well, first of all, I want them to get to know you, find you, connect with you. At the very least, have a conversation with you if they can. But tell me and tell the audience a little bit in service of that, what you do today, what your coaching business looks like, what your coaching process looks like today, who you coach, how you coach them, where people can find out more about you, just the whole Sara Gilbert experience, because I want other people to get what I'm having right now.
Well, first, to come into my universe, you have to refuse to be in the status quo. So if you want things to be the same, I'm definitely not the right person. My clients are service-based entrepreneurs. So basically their business is their life mission. We're one human. Entrepreneurs who want to make a difference their way, meaning, yes, their own expertise, but with their own vision and definition of what is a life worth living. And how does my business, my expertise help clients and help other people live a fulfilled life? So I have clients that are, lawyers, tax advisors, wealth advisors, like really rational. They have like consultants and things like that, but their business is their mission. And really, I help my clients think differently, speak differently, and act differently. So these are really the three pillars. So I have different coaching programs that are all exactly to have an invincible mindset, to be an impactful communicator, and to be unshakable in your business. So those are really the things, the three, I call them like the trifecta of the entrepreneur. And so I do some one-on-one coaching, not that many, just because I get so close to my clients that I limit that to be able to be fully there. And I also said, I also have three different coaching programs that people can come and explore, visit. I run them each once a year. So it's all a live experience with me, and we shake things up, but we have a lot of fun. It's fun isn't paramount in my universe,
And shake things up and have a lot of fun.
Yes, but one day I'll explain to you why there's a but in there.
That's a very intriguing one.
Yeah. And in the meantime, people can definitely, we have a blog coming out every Tuesday. I also have a YouTube channel, and people can follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are really my home.
Excellent. You're everywhere, and I love it.
We stay busy, we stay visible.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm going to pocket my greed for more time with you and say thank you for coming on the podcast. I know this was your part 2 on the pod. This is my first time talking with you.
Yeah.
I already am trying to figure out ways to have you back on because you're the real deal. I love it. And I know before I hit record, I kind of talked to you about why I took over this podcast in the first place and how much I've come to love it. And not to blow too much smoke up your butt, but you are exactly the reason why. You're a perfect example of why I love being a part of this rising coaching tide, why I love being able to have conversations like this and help to raise the profile and the platform of so many coaches like you. So I'm just really grateful. And so I'm gonna leave it with my gratitude. Thank you so much for being on the pod and talking with me today.
Well, thank you.
And I hope all of you out there listening right now got at least a sliver of as much joy as I got out of this. If you did, find out more about Sara. Get to the blog, connect with her on LinkedIn, find her on Instagram, find her wherever she's at. She's a joy and a delight, and she will have some things to say that will have you pondering it for the rest of the day. I promise you. And thank you for listening, of course. And I'll talk to you again soon.